Hello and welcome to a very special edition of New Day Calumet City. I'm your host, Sean Howard, filling in for our mayor, Mayor Thaddeus Jones. Look, I am so excited that you've joined us today because we have a figure here in the studio to which everybody knows, specifically those of you who live in the 5th Ward of Calumet City. That's none other than my good friend, the 5th Ward Alderman, Alderman DeJuan Gardner. How you doing, Alderman?
Hey, Sean. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. It's an exciting time. We've seen our city go through some transitions over the last 8 to 9 months, some exciting stuff happening. But I know people see you generally in the ward, getting around and even beyond your ward. But I just want to break down, who is DeJuan Gardner? That's what everybody wants to know. Your upbringing, the roots, your political history, and just how you came up through this whole tricky world of politics and now government.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting. DeJuan Gardner is a person. I love people. I've always been a people person, dating back to my younger years in life, growing up in church, having a family of a grandmother with 10 children, and grandmother and grandfather. 10 children. So seven girls and 3 boys. Mm-hmm. And so just growing up in a big family, growing up in church, musician in church, so I had a responsibility every Sunday, so it was imperative that I was in church on Sunday.
Now, is this all Chicago-based?
This is Chicago-based, actually in the Roseland area.
Yeah.
Like St. James on 113th Estate.
Oh yeah, 9th Ward, the very historic 9th Ward of Chicago.
Very historic ward.
Yeah, and talk about those walks of life, because obviously you're a product of public school systems, and just talk about all of those challenges growing up as a young African-American in the 80s, early 90s. Talk about that.
Well, a lot has changed since then. When I was growing up, we grew up in an era where we respected adults, we respected our elders. There was a time when, born and raised on the south side of Chicago, in the 21st Ward, on 81st and Hermitage, we spoke to our neighbors. I can remember walking to the store with my grandfather, going to get a newspaper, whether he was going to get milk or eggs. We spoke to people. We acknowledged neighbors. We acknowledged members of the community. So that's kind of what got me engaged even as I got older and wanted me to begin to be a person of change, an advocate for change. So,
yeah. And you've embedded yourself into the community, into the neighborhood specifically. With those walks of life in the 9th Ward, then the 21st Ward, engaging with your neighbors, community organizations, obviously sports, I'm sure, played a role. Was that sort of the segue for you to be involved as you are today?
Yes, it played a very critical and a critical part in the role that I am in today by, going to church on Sundays and being involved and seeing the community come get resources and help from the church. Being a part of that, even in my early teenage years, I was a part of a youth group where we did a lot of street evangelism, and it taught me how to engage in people, and I just grew a passion to want to really serve and help people, and that kind of gave me the opportunity to do that.
And talk about, the schools to which you attended, grade school, high school.
Well, I started off at Evangelical Christian on 91st and Vincennes.
Oh yeah, very popular Evangelical.
Very popular school, and if you know anything about Evangelical, it was a school that kept you grounded. They didn't mind using the paddle, the rod of correction, and so that was one of the schools I attended at an early age with a solid Christian foundation. Then I attended Thornridge High School and had a chance to, actually freshman year I went to Ileana Christian, and I had a chance to kind of be in a diverse environment, with the different, ethnic groups.
So coming out of that private schooling system to the public school system, was that a cultural shock in a lot of ways? Because some things you can't get away with in private school that you can in public school.
That's actually true. That's very true. So when I left private school, I was introduced to public school, and it was a lot different. Private school was a little bit more focused in on smaller classroom settings. Public school was a little bit more, wild, I should say, but I had a lot of fun in both environments.
Very good, and so that's a great segue into South suburban life, Southern Cook County. What attracts you to Southern Cook County? We know you came here for high school, but those set of attributes to which you've experienced in Chicago, obviously you brought those same sort of skills to the South suburbs. Did you see a wealth of opportunity here for yourself?
Well, I wouldn't consider it a wealth of opportunity, but it was an opportunity to get involved and serve the community in the capacity in which I wanted to work. Like I said, I had always been involved in public service, whether it be through street evangelism or some sort of care ministry during the church. And so that kind of segued me into where I'm at today in politics.
You had any political influences growing up through that era?
Well, yeah, I had the opportunity to volunteer on a few campaigns when I was younger, the Robert Shaw campaign and different judges and Cook County judges. I won't name any right now, but it's too many to name. But I've worked on quite a few elections, and that's kind of what got me involved and motivated in wanting to get into politics and public service.
And so you've been a resident here in Calumet City how many years now?
It's been 12 years now.
12 years.
12 years.
What are the things that really attracts you the most about Calumet City?
Calumet City is somewhat of a melting pot. It's a lot of great people here. We still in a close proximity to the city, like myself and other people. We have a lot of relatives in the city. We attend church in the city. So it's still in the south suburban area. It's away from Chicago, but we're in a close proximity to the city. And I just love the people here.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about diversity, and Calumet City is obviously going through transformations down through the years, and now for the positive. And when you see this rainbow effect, even the administration currently, you've kind of like walked through that process and you've seen the bumps in the road. Does it make you proud now to see how far Calumet City has come?
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe that we're going to go even further. I believe that, we have a very diverse council here, and I'm proud to say I'm a part of it because, we support and welcome diversity here.
I know the mayor has made some significant appointments that are now historic firsts, if you will, in the city. When you go around town and those things you can now use as a conversation piece, as an African-American man, it must make you feel proud to say, well, we not only have our first African-American mayor, we have a chief of staff that's of a diverse nature, and all these other wonderful department heads, and a rainbow effect of an administration now. That must be a great talking point, as opposed to the things you've had to talk about in years past.
Absolutely, because it sets a tone that everybody is at the table. You have different ethnic groups, you have men and women that serve on the council, you have men and women that serve in leadership roles here in Calumet City. So I think it's very exciting, and I think it's a great opportunity.
And I've seen you and the mayor up close and personal. You have a good A to B relationship with the mayor. It's a great beeline effect and I know you guys talk about a lot of things, but does that make the job easier knowing that you have a beeline to talk to the mayor and deal with the things that are pertinent to your constituents?
Yeah, I think it helps out a lot. It makes the job much easier. I think it's an awesome opportunity to have great conversation and have a good rapport with everybody on council. I try to remain neutral and, try to, be engaging and understanding. While we may disagree, I still try to, I'm thankful for the opportunity of, keeping things professional for the betterment of the residents.
And let's talk about the moment in which you made the decision to run for alderman some 12 years ago now. What was that like for you, and what sort of led you to that particular decision?
Wow. So it started out in 2009. I helped a friend of mine who's on council now, Alderman Ramon Williams. He ran at the time for the 2nd Ward, and I helped him and another former alderman that was an alderman here in Calumet City, helped both of them on their campaigns. And it kind of inspired me, to run and to be involved, having the experience growing up as a child in public service and helping people with elections and so on and so forth. It gave me an interest, and it sparked something in me and made me want to be part of the change culture.
Traditionally speaking, especially in Chicago, I've talked to Alderman Bill and Alderman Coleman there, and they said, the job of alderman traditionally is the toughest job in politics because you get blamed for whatever the state rep, the state senator, the congressperson, and other aspects, and the commissioner, the county board president, all that blame falls at your doorstep.
Yes.
And I know you've probably experienced somewhat of a challenge in that regard. You have to teach civics to some of our residents sometime. But just talk about the role of alderman in your ward, how you approach it every day, your relationship with your constituents, how you see best fit to communicate with them on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I think it is a tough responsibility, but I'm proud to serve. I wake up every morning focused on what I can, deal with certain issues or certain concerns that a community member may have. They may reach out to me via email or via telephone. I check my voicemail messages daily, and I'm always looking to get back to somebody. Some issues we can handle right away. Some take a little bit more time. They take, council review from maybe the city attorneys. But a lot of those issues, I wake up with a mindset to just get them resolved. and that's what keeps me going.
And it's the flow of general services to which, residents always speak about. And then you have inclement weather cycles and what have you. How do you exercise or speak to your residents to exercise patience? Because, some people want things overnight, but we have a wealth of city services that you have to tap into. How do you communicate that to your residents?
Well, for the most part, I don't get too many phone calls regarding the weather or anything like that, or snow. If I do, I just let the residents know that they are going to get to the area, or the streets. The mains are first, always primary, and then the side streets secondary, and then the alleys. But most of the time, thankfully, my residents are pretty patient and understanding.
Yeah, as I see you interact with your other colleagues, from the clerk, the treasurer, your colleagues, and the mayor, I think it's sort of symbolic that people have their own relationships with department heads to get things done. And I've seen you talk. I see you in corners talking to department heads because your residents are always on your brain cell. Does that play a big role too, your relationship with department heads?
Yes, it plays a critical role. I believe, a lot of times when you have good rapport with different department heads, they want to see you engaged. They want to help you. They want to be of a support to you in your roles as alderman and in your wards. They want to help. Because they trust you, and it's just good camaraderie, and it's a good rapport, and they want to in turn support you.
Yeah. Let's talk about some big vision topics, such as the role to which you would want to see Black political empowerment play here in the Southern Cook County. We know there's a lot of transitions happening right now. How do you envision South Suburban Cook County in terms of economic development, things that you like to see done in the future, not just here in Calumet City, but in a global context throughout the South Suburbs? Well,
I would like to see, first and foremost, I would like to see a lot of young people get engaged in the political process, because they are the future. They are the future thinkers. And so, my generation, I'm young, but my generation, we don't have all the answers. So, regarding economic development, I would love to see the Southland bloom. I would love to see opportunities expand, not just here in Calumet City, but throughout the entire Southland.
The mayor always speaks to the fact that it appears that Southern Cook County has become an excellent location of sorts for young African-American entrepreneurs to come get their start, because there are a lot of challenges, a lot of bureaucratic things that goes on in Chicago. But, it appears that Southern Cook County has become a welcoming doormat for young African-American professionals to come and set up shop. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would most definitely agree with that. There are a lot of opportunities here for housing, not just business opportunities, but for housing as well, land acquisition. And I would just encourage young people to get involved in the process.
As you know, Calumet City is a borderline community with our neighboring state of Indiana in Hammond. Do you look at that as a positive as it relates to maybe improving those particular relationships? Because there's so much similarities between the two communities, Hammond and Calumet City. What's your thought process with the two communities? Do you think we should merge together more so? Maybe, I know the mayor's done a great job addressing some of the health issues at the local hospital there. And I know you took part of some of those marches with the mayor and others. Would you want to see a better relationship, as the mayor's been pushing for? But do you think that's going to be key into building a camaraderie that's healthy for both sides?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I believe, anytime communities are right next door to each other, I think they should join together and, shoot ideas across, state lines to each other, and work together for the betterment of both communities, since we're neighboring communities. I absolutely believe that.
We're here in Black History Month, and you've often said, well, every month is Black History Month. And we look at the upward mobility of African Americans and how we've kind of blossomed, if you will, into the forefront politically, in terms of economic development. What would be your message for African American youth as it relates to coming into Southern Cook County, finding opportunity, engaging themselves? We have a wealth of logistical manufacturing companies now that have trades, and these companies are now putting more monies into our high schools. And everyone isn't fit to go to a four-year university, but they can take a trade. What would be your message for that young, aspiring 17-year-old who may not know where he or she wants to go? What would be your message to them?
I would say to them that the sky is the limit. Find your role model, find your mentor, and sit under that mentor and always be open to opportunity, because the opportunity is out here if you take advantage of it.
Yeah, and that opportunity is profound that you say that, because the mayor and some of the other mayors have had their caucus meetings, and that's been the center stone of those meetings, creating opportunity for so many people to come out. And I think our diversity is probably our best attribute. Things aren't so one-sided anymore. There's a new game in town, as they say. And so when you look at the wealth of diversity through the South suburbs versus that of other parts of the state, Southern Cook County stands out.
I would agree. And I would say that we have set-asides. African Americans and minority groups have set-asides, and it's just up to us to just get our share.
Yeah. And I think as we conclude this particular show, we have to think about, where we've come from.
Sure.
And Calumet City has come from a long place. And I think this past recent election, 9-10 months ago, and the mayor was elected, we have our, some other firsts on the city council, if you will. Do you think that's part of the new dynamic moving forward? Not just seeing African Americans, but Latinos and whites come together and form a real economic and political base together?
Yes. It's all diversity. It's all diversity and inclusion, and I think that's really the trend of the future.
Good.
Think it is.
Well, hey, I know you're busy, but I wanted the Fifth Ward residents to know that we know who their alderman is.
Thank you so much.
Alderman Gardner, you have been a great guest. I've known you forever, since you was a little guy, right?
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
And if your residents, some who may have just moved into the area recently, if they need to get in contact with you, is there a way they can contact you?
Sure, they can call me at 708-891-8195. That's my office number. Or they can send me an email at dgardner@calumetscity.org. That's DGARDNER@calumetscity.org.
Well, once again,
Thank you.
I knew I could count on Alderman Gardner.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And we always love having you here, right here on New Day Calumet City. You can tune in weekly for other programs, diverse programs, and we try and bring the best of government information right into your living rooms. I've been Sean Howard, right here on New Day Calumet City, and as we always say, keep the faith.